Hey, Stars Hollow fans, welcome to this week's Gilmore Girls. So I am back for season 2 of the show. The opening episode is called Sadie. Came across actor Yannick Truesdale in My New York Year, a film you can see a review of on this channel itself. So I'll put a link in that. A lot of the drama is to do with Max's proposal at the end of last season. And Lorelai at the start in this episode, for most of it, is still considering whether to accept. The moment of the episode is probably the whole of the town following the girls as they head into Luke's diner. And the reason for this is, well, Miss Paddy in particular has an interest in when is Lorelai going to tell Luke about the proposal from Max, because newsflash, Luke might have a little thing for Lorelai, which even Rory thinks. Sure of the town literally following them to the diner, and Lorelai bites the bullet, even though she seems in denial about Luke's feelings. And I think what's really telling about the scene is it's almost like she's looking for Luke's approval for the wedding, because at this point she hasn't accepted the proposal, and Luke appears to take it in his stride. He graduates her, says that's great news, you should do it, and all the rest of it. But maybe he's hiding something, just maybe. But the rest of the town, or a group of them standing watching at the window, is a really funny and cute image. Another standout from the episode is when Lorelai goes to the newsstand, actually, and we're introduced to this newsstand guy who we haven't seen before. And I'm sort of thinking this guy could become like the season 2 version of Joella from season 1, who I kind of was obsessed with because of her heart playing and her sarcasm. This deadpan newsstand guy could become the new Drell. I mean, who knows? It's been ages since I've watched this season, so I have no idea if he sticks around beyond this episode or not. But it's a fun little scene, because Lorelai is obviously, her mind is drifting towards a potential wedding, so she's looking at like a magazine, like bride style magazines, and the guy is just there in the background sort of muttering and asking her stuff. And probably the best line is when he says, "Hey, are you a Leo?" And she's like, "No." And he's like, "Well, that's a shame, because you guys are having a rough week this week." And it's like, oh no, hey, first of all, I'm gutted that Lorelai isn't a Leo, because newsflash, I'm a Leo, so I would love to be the same star sign as Lorelai. But the other thing is, I'm having a rough week. No, that's terrible. I'm getting a kicking in the star system. No, that's just awful. Lorelai doesn't come out and tell her parents, Richard and Emily. They're over for like Friday night dinner. She still doesn't tell them. You see her looking at the ring, and it's sort of funny because she actually like phones Max in the middle of dinner, and they have a whole discussion, and it ultimately leads to her accepting the proposal. So she comes running back in. Her and Roy start screaming because like Lorelai sort of gives her like a little nod that indicates I've accepted the proposal. But even then she doesn't tell Richard and Emily. She sort of covers it up by saying, I'm just really happy because Rory got top 3% of the class. So that's the whole deal there. And it's only near the end of the episode where Emily accidentally finds out through Sookie, because Sookie knows and is planning on throwing a special sort of dinner to celebrate, and runs the date by Emily. Beans, obviously, he's now got the credits sort of stardom, if you like. He's in the actual opening credits for the season, so I guess that means he might stick around for a while. But he's also swinging the sort of male model sort of slash Gap employee look. I'll say that about him. Almost the sort of look that Max has in Roswell High, if you've ever seen that. Maybe I'll throw in a picture of that for the edit. But in any case, that's the look he seems to be going for a rude awakening, because Rory invites him to this special dinner which Richard and Emily are throwing to celebrate her finishing the top 3% of her class. And I mean, first of all, Emily gives Dean a bit of a frosty welcome, like "I remember you." That swerve us, because it's actually Richard, normally the more laid back one, who really grills him, and it's just awful. I mean, even as an anti-Dean person, I felt bad for Dean. It starts questioning him about his grades, his college plans, and points out, hey, Rory's a special girl and she should be with a special person, and it leads to a whole thing where Rory storms out really mad, which you obviously can't blame her. And even Emily is taken aback by Richard's aggressions, like, hey, should we move on? Why don't I get that book for Rory? But anyway, there's a good rationale later from Lorelai, because she tells Rory, well, I think what's going on here is then your grandfather has memories of me at that age, and me with a younger guy, that younger guy obviously being Christopher, and he's worried about history repeating itself. The scene later too with Richard and Emily, because Richard is like still fluming when she gets called by Sookie and accidentally finds out about the wedding. He actually makes a good point, which is, our daughter's getting married and she didn't even tell us about it. I don't want that to happen in the future with Rory. I want her to tell us up front. So that's actually a nice little moment for Emily, and a good sort of reasoning. Then Richard calls tomorrow and apologises. So Emily taking charge, which is always great. Now, in other news in the episode, Lane is being shipped off to Korea by her parents without a return ticket, so she has no idea when she'll be coming back. So she's freaking out over that, and I don't remember this storyline. Maybe it's a small thing, maybe they gloss over it, maybe she just returns in the next episode with nothing mentioned. I tell you what, Lane, at least it's not Korea nowadays. So I don't know the ins and outs of like 2000 but with Korea, but I'm assuming it maybe wasn't quite as bad back then, so you dodged a bullet. So dodgy political reference there from me. I'll move swiftly on. And as always, there's some memorable lines of dialogue in the episode. The couple that stood out to me is the cold opening, where then you walk down the aisle, as in the wedding aisle, with Sinatra playing and Something That Smells Nice, and Lorelai says, a piece of meat. And the other great line is from both Lorelai and Sookie, and it's when they're winding Michelle up, and he's talking about apparently some sort of an experiment he's read about in like a magazine where you can extend your life through the use of meat, and I think it was turkey in particular, and they both tease him. They're like, you want to live forever, like in Fame. So that was great stuff. So they actually have just one other thing, because when Rory apologises to Dean for her father's behaviour, she mentions that what he said isn't true, and that's just an interesting moment considering the future of Rory in the show. And I don't know, this sort of idea that maybe she doesn't have that much in common with someone like Dean, like maybe future boyfriend she might have something more in common with. But I think the important thing of it is that she does love Dean at this point in time. She truly cares about him. It's not just a thing and she's in denial. And I think also what we see with Rory and her three boyfriends over the course of the show, her three main boyfriends, is that they're all kind of different and they all represent a different side to relationships and growing up. So I think she loves each one of them at the time in a different way. So that's something which I'll talk more about in future episodes. But thanks for listening. More Gilmore Girls soon. See you guys later.